Hi, this is G.H. Clay, and we're going to talk about when you get prescribed a medication and for some reason you can't continue it. But first, let me tell you a story. This is a young woman in my practice, and imagine yourself in this person's position. You have had periods where depression and other aspects of a mental illness have swooped down like a hurricane since your mid-adolescence. And you've been through a number of medication trials and they haven't worked. They've never given you the stability that you so desire in your life so you can get going and move on in a productive way. Med trial after med trial has failed. So you finally come to somebody and we prescribe something and it's working. It's amazing. You're feeling better. And then all of a sudden, a rare side effect crops up, and we have to take you off that medication. This is a story of courage and perseverance and grit. And if you stay tuned to the end of the story, you're going to find out my thought processes of what I told this woman and what helped her make sense of trying again, going for a plan, not a plan B or C or D, but plan E. By the time she got to me, we were definitely down to plan E. So stay tuned to the end of the video. And I'm going to give you another tip or rather way of thinking about when medications don't work. Well, it is a given that sometimes medications will not work. And let me tell you from the prescriber end of things, the tools that one has. And first of all, let me tell you, I'm a believer that there are no sacred cows with regard to anything. And that includes my own diagnostic impression. I always challenge that, particularly if something's not working. And that's the first step for providers. Have you got it right? Have you got the first diagnosis? One of the tools that providers use are various published algorithms. They survey lots of experienced providers and they present clinical scenarios. And this provides a flow sheet, if you will, of what to do, what to try next. And I rely on things like the Texas algorithms and other algorithms in terms of treatment. And providers are all made aware of these. And it's a good thing to use them. You know, your best experience comes from other people who face the same challenges in their work as you do. Another tool that I employ frequently is gene testing. Gene testing allows us to narrow the field. Some people fail because they have drug gene interactions, and this is disappointing. Whenever I have somebody who's been on a number of different trials and I think the diagnosis is correct, I will often gene test them. And this gives us a surprising amount of information. There are various companies out there that do that. Generally, with any treatment are alternatives. And sometimes it takes a lot to hang in there, as this young woman did, and go for another alternative when one has failed. And when I look at treating any kind of depression or mental illness, I'm looking for full remission. So let's take a quick break. If you find this a useful podcast, so let's take a quick break. If you find this a useful video, then give me a thumbs up. That helps get the platform spread. The other thing that really helps this platform get established is for you to share it, because if you have this concern, other people will have it too. And coming back to this young woman, yeah, she made another appointment. She was willing to give it yet another try, despite all the disappointment. Well, what do you say to a person that experiences that kind of disappointment? I had a bit of an emergency that required me to drive to and from alone. And I am a believer in letting your mind wander and let it wander in a purposeful way. You know, do so with intention. And I'll include a video on this particular subject. And as I was driving down the freeway, that is a great opportunity to let me. And as I was driving back and forth, that's a good opportunity for me to let my mind just wander. I don't have the radio or music on. I just let my mind go. And what came to me was an analogy, a great analogy for life. And I'm going to ask you to think about poker. You were dealt a hand where you have 5 cards. 3 are show cards, everybody gets to see them, and 2 you hold. And your 2 hold cards are 2 aces, a great hand. And you start to bet, and somebody's staying with you. They aren't dropping out. And their show cards are random. They aren't in sequence, so it's not any sort of sequential run. There are no pairs showing. Let's say there's a 2, a 5, a 10. Doesn't really matter. They're all disconnected cards, but they stay with you. They keep doing the bet. But you have 2 aces. So you figure their hold card, they have a pair, but you know you have 2 aces, and any pair is less than theirs. So it comes to lay down, and the pot's pretty good. And their hold cards match one of the show cards. They have, say, 3 2s, and you've been beaten. So, was betting the wrong strategy? No, it wasn't. You know that if you have a strong pair like that, your odds are 80% that you are going to take that hand. And 20% of the time, you're going to lose, as you did this time. And 20% is a lot of losing. And it struck me that poker is a great metaphor for a lot of things in life. Most of the time, you're going to win. And if you don't, it doesn't mean the strategy is bad. It may be a correct strategy. It's just that 20% of the time, you have variables that are not in your control. With poker, as with life, be in control of what you can. With poker, you control whether you fold, you control whether you bet, you control whether you draw more cards. All sorts of things come under your control. Now, with life, we have times where we can be in control, and there are other unseen variables. So the takeaway is that sometimes, despite the best strategy, you're going to fail anyway. Doesn't mean the strategy is wrong. And it just struck me that poker, a lot like life. So again, if you found this video useful, give me a thumbs up. I appreciate it. I will be posting another video next Monday. Until that time, take care, and we'll see you then.